It's difficult to say whether he was a good CO or not. He may have been, but if you're just in charge of a ward and things like that, it's not the sort of thing that worries you anyway. Your main objective is to see that the ward is properly run.
And who was your senior nurse?
Sister Crick, and she was a Melburnian. But she went home with the first lot, you see.
Yes.
So that I was left in charge.
And did you see Albert Coates, Lieutenant Colonel Albert Coates?
Yes. He was a very good surgeon. I think possibly the best surgeon we had was actually Frank Mills.
Yes.
He was, of course, admittedly he was ex-PA, but he was very precise and very good. And Kevin Fagan also was another PA man. It would be between Frank Mills and Kevin Fagan as to who was the better.
Now you had quite, just while before we leave the subject of Prince Alfred Hospital, before you leave the subject of PA, the Prince Alfred Hospital, who were the other members of the staff who joined services?
Who what?
Who were the other members of the doctors and the nurses from PA who joined up? Do you remember? Ernie Marsden, was he the registrar?
Marsden was. He worked on the. He was a physician, and I always worked in the surgical wards.
Yes.
So I really didn't see very much of Ernie, but I always worked in the surgical wards.
Yes.
They were, I think, possibly the heaviest wards.
Yes.
Who else was there? There was Frank Mills. He was a good surgeon. Frank Mills, and Kevin Fagan was a very good surgeon.
Yes.
They were both ex-PA.
Yes.
And who else would there have been? Those are the ones I remember. If you'd given me a bit of warning, I'd have read that.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry about that. Do you remember Colonel Durham?
Yes, but he wasn't 10th AGH.
No, he was the Deputy Assistant Director of Medical Services.
And I doubt if he would have met anybody but the matrons and the assistant matrons and things like that. In the army, they're rather fussy about that sort of thing. Yes.
Now, getting back to before there was a decision, going back to your work in Singapore when all the casualties were coming in. You were working in the hospital in Singapore and lots of casualties were coming in. How many hours a day would you work?
Oh, it just depended. I think roughly about 13. Some days it'd be a bit longer, some days it mightn't be quite as long.
Yes.
You see, when the night staff came to take over, you were supposed to finish what your job was. In any case, they couldn't have coped. They needed they would come on as a senior sister and a junior sister, and two people just couldn't handle the ward. So at least two of us would stay behind. And if you were the senior one in the ward, as I was, naturally you were one who stayed behind.
Yes.
And you kept with you the person you thought was the best worker.
Yes.
And we rarely got off before 9:30 or 10 at night, and we started at 6 in the morning.
Yes.
But we had, we'd reached the stage when we had our lunches, which was the same as the patients. We had them in the wards, but not actually in the wards, but in the staff section. And the same with the evening meal. You didn't go down to have only those who were off duty.
Yes.
And probably somebody in the lighter wards, I don't know, but I know that I rarely went down to a meal.
Now, when you had your rest, it couldn't have been very restful, because when you were having your sleep, you would not have slept well.
They were very regular in their flights over with their bombs and such, and I've forgotten what the hours were. I think they came at 10 at night. It might have been a bit earlier, it might have been about 9. Midnight they usually came, and then it'd be sometime between 2 and 4 they would come, and then they would come again about 6 a.m. And you reached this, it was, we were told that we would be put on a charge if we didn't go to the bunkers when they had a call. So we just said, okay. We have no intention, I think most of us said the same thing, we've got no intention of leaving the wards, but if they put us in jail, then who are going to be the nurses?
Yes.
So that we, I suppose in a way, we were doing the right thing in any case, in my opinion. I still wouldn't leave the ward until I'd finished. And if you had trained at PA, we had always written a fairly full report, and it was a bit hard to break that habit, but we did break it so that we gave a correct report, but not one that was exaggerated.
Yes. Now, when the decision was made that the nurses were to leave Singapore, when you were told that the nurses were to leave Singapore, what did you think? What was your feeling?
I think most of us were in tears, actually.
Yes.
See, they sent the first lot out, and I know a lot of them were crying. And then we were the ones who were to stay, and we had decided, we really thought we were staying until half an hour before we were told that we had to go on board. I think most of us were crying.
Yes.
And the patients were very good. They, all said, "Good luck, sister, good luck," And it worried them if we had stayed.
Yes.
And one of them told me afterwards, he was very young, orderly, and very nice youngster, and this was after the war was over, he said, you know, sister, we wouldn't have let the Japs touch you. We had guns, we were going to shoot you.
Yes.
I said, oh, thank you, sir, for whatever his rank was.
And now, what was the vessel? What was the vessel that you went on?
Oh, look, I truthfully can't remember, but it'd probably be in that book.
Was it the Varnabrook, or?
It was the Varnabrook.
Yes,
that's right.
Yes. So.
And it got away. We were attacked once. Was it only once? I think it was only once, and it was quite interesting in a way. You'd see the bomb coming down. We were supposed to go right down into the hold, and we said there was no way we were going down the hole because we'd never get out of it again. So we stayed in our cabins, and it was quite interesting. You'd see one drop, and you see the big splash, and it'd probably be about not quite as far as that building. Yes. From it, and then
30 or 40 metres.
They would, they'd drop a whole trail of them off. So.
And when the ship was hit, and you knew you had to go into the water.
Oh, we had no option. Just had to hop into the water.
Were you a good swimmer?
No, I wasn't. No, but I'm a good floater.
Yes.
I wasn't really all that much worried. You see, the ones who, some of them had slight injuries, and we made sure that they got into the boats. And we were, Wynne Davis was with me, and she was a very good swimmer. She came from the Clarence River area, and she was a very good swimmer, and Kath Noyce was a good friend of mine, but she had been injured and she was bleeding. You didn't have time to look what it was. Made sure she got into the boat and said, "See you on the shore." And I got out again and swam away with Wynne Davis and Pat Blake, who was a PA trainee. And because we were only about 300 yards